Grüezi ragazzi, bienvenue und willkommen. I am back. We are back. Cannabiscienza is back. Thank you so much for everyone who is attending today live and for all of you attending at a later and watching this at a later time. Thank you as well. My name is Viola Brugnatelli. Some of you are familiar with my face. Others are not. Many are telling me that my face has changed as well. That's also possible. That's also part of this beautiful walk of life in which we take on and off different ego masks and we put them aside. In any case, my name and spirit are still the same, and with the same spirit and name by which I'm conceived and open Cannabiscienza with the value of spreading knowledge about medical cannabis and swift reintroduction into a true medical system, um, and the understanding of the physiology of the endocannabinoid system. I wanted to restart what's been a, quite an appointment every Tuesday afternoon at 5 here on these channels going live, so that you can have back again this familiar place where we're going to delve into quite some topics. So the idea for today, it's really that of having you kind of explore what I've set up as a pretty exciting program for the spring. It's a program that will be run here live, and as I said, it's completely free for you to check in and whether live and so interact with us or at a later stage. Um, the timing will be at this time. So usually it's Central European time. We're still in winter, so it will shift into CEST when we're gonna get into summertime. But aside from technicalities, I wanted to kind of get ahead with what's in it, what's for in it for summer, what's in it for supper. Sorry. Okay, so the classes will show up as you see structured. The duration. So if you are like a usual attendees of these seminars, usually we were working around half an hour of these lives. It's kind of the aim that I am gonna put myself to as well. But I also wanted to be flexible, opening up to an average perhaps of 45 minutes, um, with a span of life, with a span of time, getting to the full hour, possibly. And that is because I envision these classes to, yes, be science led. So obviously there will be a lot of delving into theory, delving into literature, into papers and getting an understanding of papers, but then also this step more I wanted to make um, edu experiences through this live, and that's why I think it's very valuable to have it in in person as much as possible, because I wanted to also give a practical knowledge, a practical experience, because the topics that we're gonna see, as you will be able to see just in a moment, they're not, they're obviously very interesting, as a story, as a narration, and perhaps, you hear about it and then you just keep it there in your folder, in your head. But it's really, really the value that you're going to get is, especially if you're going to integrate this knowledge into the practical side that we're also going to delve into. At the moment, I have I'm still placing some names in some classes. So there are some guest speakers that still needs to be announced. So that's why you will just see the names of the classes. They are divided into modules. There are some big modules with the main topic. And then in each of these topic, around 3 to 4 classes, depending as well from the number of guest speakers and also from life. I also really wanted to be very authentic in this, and life happens. And as much as everyone is striving to be live means life. So for instance, last Tuesday I wanted to uh, be present for um, having already this presentation, but I postponed it to this week because last week I was in a funeral and mourning, and this is just real life happening. And I think, especially with the topics that you're going to be able to see, you'll have an understanding that it's really about our authenticity as humans. So I think it needs to be encouraged and really lived, that that perfect imperfection of what living life is. So let's delve into the topics. We'll start next Tuesday with truly what's putting the basis for really super whimsical, interesting topics. So we will start by what for. I'm a neuroscientist, neuropharmacologist, so this is not going to be heavily funded on a psychologist's point of view, although of course there are a lot of bases of Jung and a lot of stuff that obviously can kind of intercross with psychology. I did call this module psychological blocks and sense of identity, because truly it's about looking at, from a neuroscience perspective, the different belief systems that we build upon our sense of who we are. And you're like probably wondering, why the heck has this anything to do with cannabigensia? Hold on a second, because cognitive and emotional regulations obviously are a foundation of what a sense of identity is, because truly are the grounds on which we serve um, our sense of conscious and subconscious. Who am I? Okay. And as you will see, also from a neurologic perspective, something like the prefrontal cortex or the amygdala are pretty full of cannabinoid receptors. Actually, cannabinoid receptors and endocannabinoids are absolutely fundamental in the cognitive and emotional regulations. That is why so many people out there are happily using cannabinoid based products in the regulations of emotional disbalances, including anxiety, PTSD, fear processing, and so on. So, obviously, these free classes, are not going to aim specifically at any specific pathology. My goal with this work, it's really to support and empower um, you, you finishing your day of work if you're in Europe, or you starting your day of work if you are in the US, and I know, like, so it's not necessarily going to a quote unquote patient. We'll get there. Well, I have a little word about this in a moment, but I think each of us can truly benefit from having a little bit more knowledge on this. And so we will start straight ahead, very neurological basis, but we kind of really need that part. I will avoid being hyper technical. As you know, I always try to make it as understandable as possible. And so my goal is just to be able to give the basis so that can you still hear me fine? Yeah. Yeah, maybe internet is not at its best, but we will try what we can. So that we can go into quite a class on modulation by the endocannabinoid system of these two areas, because there is truly a lot of literature in there. So we might have actually more than one class on what is the interaction between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, and how is that held by the endocannabinoid system. And so quite a few really amazing speakers are going to join us in this conversation. Just last week, actually, at the University of Bern, some incredible speakers were present, exactly talking about some of this topic, actually, that we could summarize as sort of a compendium in between. When you think amygdala, a compendium in between the fine balance of love and fear, truly. Thank you for confirming that you can hear me. Yes, I got some glimpses from here, from this side of the registration. And then as we process with that, also we will touch on what does it mean, electrochemical imbalance and consciousness. Well, again, if you think of what is the endocannabinoid system, when we or better off to say, when we think of endocannabinoids, the fact itself that they activate, G protein coupled, but which G protein coupled usually? Let's rewind for all of you that are not neuroscientists. There are several types of receptors that we can activate. Some are kind of like channels on the membrane of a cell. So the channel, it's open. You open or close the channel. Others, the most popular actually receptors, are so-called G protein coupled. So once something, whether that's exogenous like THC, let's say, or endogenous like anandamide, let's say, once they attach to the receptor, they activate a downstream signaling with a so-called G protein coupled receptor. This G protein coupled, it's not obviously one type. Would it be too easy, right? Like our body, the more you study it, the more you're like, wow. And so out of the several different type of G protein that we can have, there are mainly two specific type of G protein that the endocannabinoids activate, and those are G0 or GI. G0 kind of give us already the idea that it's kind of negative, not in a negative role, but as a minus, okay, in a inhibitory versus activatory type of observation, okay? And I staying for inhibitory. So as some of you know, when I do anything, like now I'm moving my hand, obviously to do this movement, several number of action potentials. So voltage in my body needs to occur so that the fantastic, intricate network of acetylcholine receptors allow my ganglia to send a message so that at the end of that story, okay, the muscle is moving to my intention, okay? Why do we always call the endocannabinoid system as a master organizer of not only of basically homeostasis, right? But of so many different functions, because it's de facto a way through which we can rebalance electrochemically, okay, through signals that are minus, or so many different other systems of communication. Why do I say minus? Endocannabinoids, differently from GABAergic system, so to make it easy, the system that you activate once you take benzodiazepine, like diazepam or Xanax and so on. If GABA is always, always, always sending an inhibitory message, an endocannabinoid or a cannabinoid activated system, it's sending a minus, so an inhibitory, which is not necessarily inhibitory on itself, because we know that being linked with so many different systems, so it can be linked to an excitatory system or an inhibitory system. So if you have an inhibition of an inhibition, what is the result of that? An excitation. So truly, we can balance electrochemically from the standpoint of the endocannabinoid system. And why does that have anything to do with consciousness? Well, then we will add another layer of complexity to this fantastic equation, because our consciousness, as we'll hopefully have more time in the classes that we're going to build, you will see how it's a buildup of not just mere chemical discharges amongst material matter, but truly it's a beautiful, intricate complexity that necessarily take part into an electromagnetic field, into many electromagnetic fields, not just the one of the device that you're watching me from in this moment, but truly the polarity of internal polarity that is happening inside your brain in this moment, or where our cosmos is. That's also another electromagnetic huge field. We know about this. Is not, this is science. We're using this science, right, to for diagnostic, for example. So we will layer up knowledge so that it won't appear so woo-woo science as we go ahead. And hopefully I will manage to give you the tools to be able to follow and understand and fully um, utilize and unveil for you skills that I find, as a neuroscientist myself, I found that I was not fully tapping into, because I was staying too much into a theoretical state of knowledge. And then that's why I said at the beginning of this live that I wanted to apply it in a very pragmatic way as well. So as I said, each class will have theory, but will also have a pragmatic application of what we're studying time by time, so that you kind of will have, I don't want to say homeworks, but something to practice on one time for the next. So what is going to be then after that? We're going to build up into quite a topic: quantum engineering and quantum neuroscience. I know there is a lot popping into this direction, and let's just define it as a series of stuff where we're going to look into application. Well, again, endocannabinoid system and what's placebo and nocebo. I think for anyone that have followed a little bit of my work, it's familiar already with these two main topic combos. And these two main topic combos truly are also how we are shaping the reality that we are living, and that we are doing thanks to the capacity that we have at every stage of our life. So absolutely, from the 90s already, we started to understand that it was not true, that idea, that concept that neurons can only die, that actually neuroplasticity, it is a fact, that not only we can shift and change the conformation of neurons through their dendrites, and so how their network connects to what, and through that we can connect different systems, and so through that we can have different type of observations of the world, which ultimately it's the reality that each of us it's surrounding themselves with, and so the reality that each of us is living. A topic that I'm very, very, I mean, each of them are topics that I'm very fond of. That's why I put them out here for you to enjoy. But then next, we're going to pass on to mitochondria as an internal energy catalyst. We have heard, of course, about mitochondria, little organelles inside our cells. Maybe some of you also attended the live last year that we had with Dr. Bellocchio on the mitochondrial cannabinoid receptors, which are very peculiar to mitochondria. Maybe some of you also remember the fact that mitochondria have their own genetic system, and that genetic system, it's related to the mothers of our lineage. It's not our own DNA. It's actually linked to all the mothers, and I want to, you can take it or leave it, but I always want to see it as the love of our mothers that truly give us the energy to be alive, because something that, powers energy and creates adenosine triphosphate and basically allow us to have energy would not, it's not even part of us genetically. It's part of our mothers. So it's the undeniable mark of love, maternal love, that we carry and we descend, that we receive, and that we as women, but that we as human give and give and give to the next and the next and the next generation, something absolutely amazing. And so that's why I wrote genetic maternal lineage, and then the complicacies of the mitochondrial endocannabinoid system, and so energy coherence, because that's really where it kind of all starts, which is not, but let's leave it there. I'm gonna go a bit faster because I see I'm talking a lot and it's already a lot of minutes in. Heart-brain coherence, the science of gratitude. I know this as well can sound very boohoo, but again, this is really going back from the old school studies in Japan, already from the 80s, and what it means to have a electromagnetic coherence between different points in our body, in our energetic body, and how that energy can shift the things we touch, the things we eat, the plants we interact with, the animals we interact with, the humans we interact with. And so I think this is going to as well be a very revelatory and very beautiful class where, I mean, many of you probably have seen those experiments where the water and the rice that were tanked versus the water and the rice that were insulted had completely different results, visible results in terms of rottening and thriving. So the clear evidence of the power, not really of our words, but more of our vibrations and our intentions in this coherence of our heart present in different space of our body, but we will get there. Alpha, gamma, and theta brain waves will get an understanding neurologically what they are, to how to recognize them when we are in the different type of disease. We don't need necessarily a EEG for understanding which wavelength we are. I can predict that I am in beta right now, and you should be in beta as well if you're working, but you might start to be getting into alpha because you're falling asleep to my words. This is up to you. I don't know, but so I make this little prediction. But usually, when we are talking one to each other, we are in beta. When we are in a class, we are in beta, and so I will try to give you the tools, as I said, to recognize them, but also to utilize these frequencies for altered states. That they are safe altered states, so don't worry. You'll have to do it at home. I advise against driving while taking that class, especially if you want to do the practical part, for many of them actually. But it's a beautiful, true understanding of our body. Many would say our mind, but truly it's like the body part of our mind, which will change our capacity to emit energy. And so what type of energy then we will be fueled back in, and many other beautiful changes in everyone's world in that sense. And then through that final step, hopefully we will have a little glimpse, or as the words of William Blake would say, watching through the narrow chinks of their cavern, and being able to glimpse at the collective intelligence. Is there a collective intelligence? And if it is, how can we access it? We will see. I wanted to also include a topic that I think is very important, because at the end of the day, we all do many things, but none of us escape these two main things. We are born and we die. And so reintegrate is like the role of doulas. You can call it different ways, of birth and death, of figures that help us in the end of life support. Cannabis, it's a fantastic tool in palliative care, as shown to be a fantastic tool in palliative care. Here I'm talking from Italy, and it's prescribed and reimbursed for palliative care in cancer, chemotherapy, HIV, cachexia. There's quite a few pathologies for which it is, starting to be standard practice in palliative care. Will give you, some glimpses into the historical and contemporary perspectives, but also adding on with some amazing guest speakers into the psychedelics use and end-of-life care. So how altered state of consciousness, which we can also achieve from cannabis, absolutely, but also wanted to open up as well. Again, going into that phrase that I just gave you, poetry of William Blake, which some of you may remember as well from The Doors of Perception of Aldous Huxley. That was the poetry put just at the beginning of that book. And so we'll try to open up as well for you how this altered state can help and support your patients or yourself or your family in transitions, and the most powerful transitions that we know and experience as humans in this journey. And so we will talk of mirror neurons, we will talk of production of nightly production of dimethyltryptamine that we have nightly in our dream dimension, other amazing portal. So portals are like birth, death, when we sleep, and other moments that are important portals. Let's play on game, keep on playing on games. And here I think we're really getting on to the end of today's seminar, today live, really, with the science of symbolism, nature, and biohacking. Biohacking is more and more getting more importance, recognition, interest throughout. But why have they entered this dimension of human consciousness? And you may see something that you're like, Viola, what the heck? Like, I thought this was a science channel. Hold on, it is. And so that's why we will come with the science, okay? Then this is open. You can, just participate in the neurology part and not participate in when we look and delve into history of tarot, and astrology, because it's like, what the heck is that? But symbols have been throughout all history of life of humans on this earth, how we communicate between ourselves and the rest of nature, and perhaps what's beyond nature. And so this evolution really has impacted our human perception, and that has impacted our decision making, which it's a revolving door on itself. Lunar cycles, biorhythms, and neuroplasticity, again, sounds very like out there, but I remember as a scientist myself, working in preclinical science, and so basically working with cells. And as we know, all the time we say, oh, we're 80% water. And then we get surprised that us ladies, or our fellow colleagues that are ladies, then are so heavily influenced by the moon. I mean, not just the ladies have a sort of evident rhythm, evident natural rhythm. And that's why as women are so important to keep the pace, keep the rhythm of life, keep the timing. We are more aware of our mortality. It's not like we are more aware of our mortality yet, but yes, well, I believe that we provide a capacity for our fellow male, partners, like universe partners, to realize the existence of time, because otherwise it's just one day after another. But thanks to the cyclicity and rhythm of women, which is not the same forever, because there is a period of time that we don't have we don't menstruate when we're young adults, when we are childs, and when we are in our wisest years, we don't menstruate anymore. And then we have some 30 years that we do, and in there we have this cyclicity that remind us that beyond the bills that we got to pay every month, there are also other ways to remember that a month is passing. And they come in all different forms. But as I was saying, also as a scientist and working in preclinical, I would always wonder if we were to put as a variable in statistical terms on, when you have, if you're used to work in a lab, but working in a lab with anything biology, we kind of have so many experiments. They're like, why is this not working? Like, why am I not getting the result that it just should be there? Like, why? Why am I getting this other stuff? Like, the procedure I follow is the same, everything is perfect. And I started to develop the idea and the concept and the questions, but my PI would not follow up with that. It was just, yeah, he was like, oh, that's interesting, but so many variables and it sounds like crazy, I was like, wouldn't we want to start to observe at what point of the lunar cycle are we doing this experiment or this other experiment? Because at the end of the day, I'm basically working with water. Like my cells are here, like basically this is water. And what I'm injecting here, this is water. how is this not, how are we not taking, what's happening out there, like, in consideration? Because if you're in front of the sea, you can see quite a difference with the movement of the moon. So why are we not taking this in consideration in a lab or in a body? And I think it's absolutely important. And I always thought that it was. And so I would like to bring this back as the influence of the planetary cycles in our physiology, in our emotions, in our cognitive function, and how to exploit that at best as well. We'll go into the Shirin-yoku, so-called Japanese walk in the forest for therapy. There is a lot of science on terpenes in there, but we'll have a beautiful guest that also will lead us remotely into a forest, the forest of our brain, the forest of our emotions. We are doing this as part of our internal meditation sessions as well for the team in Kanabishinsa. It's beautiful. So we have been guinea pigs of these, and I got to say, what a blessing. And that's why I wanted to, for as many people as possible, to be able to access something like this. It's just especially for who is living in cities and cannot access, the forest out there, can always access the forest we have in our heart, and will do us wonders for our health. So longevity, it's a lot of stuff. We could stay months talking on longevity. I know there are full careers. I'll promise to bring about, really good speakers in there. I myself have a little bit to talk about in there as well. As you can see, I am fascinated, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job with myself with telomere extension. What's a telomere? It's the last part, the cap that is enclosing our chromosomes. And so every time that the DNA needs to open up and split to basically allow cells into meiosis and mitosis, it kind of shortens, because every time that the chromosome needs to open, it's kind of, think of it like rubbing against, like rubbing your clothes against surface, and then after so much use, at some point you create a hole, those like old socks that you're like, okay, this is now over with their journey, like I use them so much. Well, pretty much that's the same that happens to our DNA, but with the main issue being that once our cap of our telomere, is the ancient Greek word from the end, telomere, okay? It's the end of the chromosome. Arise, like there is no more, that's also coinciding with the end of our journey here, because it cannot split again, the DNA. So it's finished. That cell is finished. And once we finish the possibility to split our cells, that's pretty much the end of our physical life on this earth. So how do we extend that? And there are amazing tools that we have with spending nothing, that are totally for free, but that will require you to be part of this equation. There are no magical pills that will be delivered in these classes, but if you want, all of these classes will be a magical pill in itself if you want to swallow it and digest it and go through the process together. And then we will have a final discussion, hopefully with as many as possible amongst the guest speakers that will have gathered. So that also would be a great occasion for you to maybe open up questions, especially on the application and technical parts. I think I got a good part of this past 40 minutes. I really didn't expect to talk this much. As usual, I thank you very much for, supporting me and being part of this first of the next many lives over this spring. If you want to write me directly, viola@cannabisciencia.com. Also, I am back signing a bit of copies of the Principle of Clinical Cannabinology. This is the book that we published together with Prohibition Partners and Cannabisciencia. And many of you may wonder, wasn't a second edition supposed to come out? Yes, I have it in my folder. And I got to say that it's a blessing that I didn't send it in pagination last week, because I don't know if you've noticed, but Switzerland just changed their norm, their regulation. Also, Spain just changed their medical cannabis regulation. And so, because this book wants aim not only to give you and provide you the science to apply for every pathology as possible with the use of medical cannabis in medicine, but also aims to provide an up-to-date how to use in every country in terms of norms and products, then I am holding on this second edition. So I'll suggest you, if you're interested, to go on Amazon and still take these, which is gorgeous, useful book, and allow us to give us a little bit of time to watch that it stabilize these two norms, as we rewrite those couple of chapters, and then I resend into impagination, because otherwise also the second edition would be kind of out of date already before of time, and we don't want that. So I'm aiming for when pretty much these classes will be over, for you, so around the Cannabis Europa time, for you to have the up-to-date and hopefully with no more changes in norms principle of clinical cannabinology. I thank you. I thank you for anyone who's there. I can't see the names of everyone, but I'm thankful to share this space with you. And so have a good evening, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Ciao.